Welcome everyone, welcome to a new update, and today we're going to discuss what type of strategy you should be using, but also what social media is doing to your emotions. And before we're going to do that, do not forget to subscribe beneath, as we've reached 100k subs, which is amazing. But you should also be aware that we are not stopping here. We're going to target 1 million and just providing you daily content on this YouTube channel. So, what about what happened last week? Well, we've seen that Bitcoin crashed. And the actual reason for the crash, there are several reasons out there. It doesn't make sense to try to figure out which reason it is, because the actual event took place. Why did the altcoins crash? Well, at the last phase of the drop of Bitcoin, panic started to occur, through which people started to, probably whales first started to panic, or not panic, but started to scale out of their altcoins and just market sell those. And then Thursday and Friday, we've had some discussions in which people were saying, hey, you have to sell your altcoins to Bitcoin because the Bitcoin dominance is going up. Yes, no shit, Sherlock. When everybody is going to be selling their altcoins, it's going to run up. But when everybody is going to discuss that the Bitcoin dominance goes up and you have to swap, you are too late. When the mass is saying something, you are too late. So I've been answering that question quite some time. We're going to look at the Bitcoin dominance in a little bit. But what did change in the fundamentals of the market? Not much. So what are you going to do when the position that you have is crashing down? What are the options that you have? First, you can sell, but it's a very tricky play, because what's the downside? Well, you don't know what the downside is. It could be bouncing up quite swiftly. And what are you going to do when it bounces up quite hard? How are you going to get back into it? For instance, MATIC is showing that there is no retests. So selling doesn't make it a very profitable move for me after the drop down, given the fact that you don't know, it can reverse quite soon. Second, you don't know where you're going to buy, because the structure in itself is crushed and everybody's chaotic, through which a very small bounce can even bring the FOMO back in. Swapping doesn't make sense either, unless you are having like 40 to 50 coins. I think that this is the moment that you want to get back to 8 to 9 coins. Swapping your altcoins to Bitcoin doesn't make sense even, as in if Bitcoin is going to bounce back up. Like, hypothetically, if you have an altcoin that went down 50%, so from 10k you went to 5k, you swap to Bitcoin, Bitcoin bounces up 20%, you're back to 6k. But your altcoin, because of those big gaps, it can gain that momentum quite fast. So selling your altcoins to Bitcoin at the low doesn't make sense. It's not a strategy. Actually, you should be swapping your Bitcoin towards altcoins to generate more money. It's not recommended, but it's a strategy. Always do the exact opposite of what the mass is doing. And when you swap Bitcoin to altcoins, you might be able to generate more money. Or even ETH. So that's an option. And further, in a crash like last one, in which I didn't have too much liquidity left anymore, I've been able to use some money from my bank account, additional liquidity, to buy some altcoins at the low, which I'll probably be selling quite soon. But adding liquidity in a crash is not bad to do, especially in the phase that we're in. And I've been watching consensus a little. My team has been watching the consensus event. This market is going to blow up quite fast, so it's not going to be a bear market. It's just an outlier to the downside, and I guess within a few weeks from now we'll just be standing at the previous levels, and some altcoins are already there. So always remain calm in general. And when we look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, I'm going to show you. The Bitcoin dominance chart shows us like this, in which we were saying that it was overextended to the downside, so bounce definitely is pretty much healthy and normal to have. We could still see a run up on the Bitcoin dominance chart towards like 52%. But all in all, if you're going to base your strategy on the Bitcoin dominance chart alone, it could be quite tricky. because in 2017 we've also had such a massive, in 2016 as well, such a massive overextended RSI to the downside, in which it felt very likely that we were going to bounce up. But you can see that it just started to crush south even more, as the strength was there in the markets for altcoins. Next to that, the actual event or actual assets that move those markets is Ethereum. Only Ethereum. As in, if Ethereum crashes, Bitcoin dominance goes up. If Ethereum drops, if Ethereum runs, the Bitcoin dominance chart makes a big move as well. It's not based on everything, it's just solely based on Ethereum in itself, given the fact that Ethereum is the main mover of this one. So where is Ethereum against Bitcoin at this stage? Well, it's still making higher highs, it's still making higher lows. So even if we have a drop to anything in this range, oh, that's a little wide, to anything in this range, it is still generating a higher low and making itself ready for continuation. And after this big move on Ethereum, I think we were ready for some consolidation, as it's just been overextended. And I've been saying on YouTube, these are the levels that you should be looking at for any entry point. And we got there. So probably right now we'll be seeing a resistance quite soon on Ethereum, in which we are going to have a rejection, have some more consolidation, and then we start continuing. So most likely we'll just have rejection, sideways action, compression, breakout, FOMO. So the strategy right now, and what I've done, is just holding. It takes a little time, but the best case and best strategy at this stage is to hold your positions, given the fact that I'm not seeing any differences in the markets. You can see that large holders are actually accumulating their positions. You can see that newcomers are selling, and they are the ones that are shouting too much on social media right now. So there is a lesson in there, and I do not believe that the market has shifted. The structure on many of those altcoins have changed, but they can flip back to the levels that they want. And usually what you see when those altcoins switch their momentum and start to gain upwards, you can feel the FOMO. And even with coins like MATIC, and I've been discussing this earlier this morning as well, you can see on the 4 hour, there's no real retest. On the 2 hour, there's no real retest. The only retest we've seen is the one at 148. So all in all, as a conclusion, stick to your positions. Don't feel too much when you see stuff on social media. There's also a bunch of people saying that Bitcoin goes to 25k. That's just the moment. That's just in the moment where everybody's panicking. The expectations are that it goes lower. However, the expectations are right now that the market is just going back to equilibrium and to the levels that it was pre-pump, as it has been an outlier to the downside. And then we just continue moving. So just stay calm, relax, be patient, don't make emotional decisions. If you have too much money involved in the markets, it might be a good idea to just scale out and just take it slow, because we're in the biggest bull cycle ever and you are going to enjoy it. I'll see you again tomorrow with a new market update and live stream. Ciao, ciao.